I believe you have good people in government who are doing their best, but something went terribly wrong. And the
people talk about $100 a day, but this was a little bit more than that. You said it's a couple $100,000 a year to actually do this treatment, to have the infuser, the equipment needed to. It's not just the cost of the phosphates. There's more to it than that.
Yeah, you had to install the equipment and storage, and these aren't large costs for.
$200,000. I bet if they had it to do over again, I bet everyone would be adding phosphates.
Well, it absolutely should have been
$200,000 a year.
It's not significant for what Flint's customers were already paying.
So how can it be money? I mean, how can it be money when it's $200,000? I can't comprehend that.
Yeah. I've seen some people comment who have worked with the Department of Environmental Quality on other issues that there needs to be a culture change in the organization. And instead of believing that you're always right, let's do what I was saying. Let's have all the results of tests disclosed. Let's have a public debate and dialogue about these different decisions, because we learn after the fact that there were emails from EPA staff who do see issues all around the country, raising questions.
Mm-hmm.
Why wasn't this resolved in February of 2015 or March of 2015, where the exposure could have been limited and the phosphates could have been added at that time? And I don't know the answer to this, but somehow the State Department of Environmental Quality, they weren't listening.
Back in February of 2015, Bob Bocock came in town. This was one of the things that he brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he also referenced the original study that was commissioned to look at the switchover. They recommended phosphates treating for corrosivity right from the beginning, didn't they?
When the city was looking at the river as a potential long-term source, because all options were on the table.
Mm-hmm.
You had the river, Detroit, and KWA, and that report in 2011 mentioned the need for corrosion control, because again, every other community,
meaning the advanced corrosion control, the phosphates,
the phosphates,
not lye, which is what he originally said.
Yeah, and then Bob Bocock raised the issue. The city's consultants, Veolia, included it in their report. See, there wasn't ever a question about
how does MDEQ disregard these recommendations from the beginning.
The DEQ kept insisting that those decisions would be made after the tests. I mean, it's just that simple. That it wasn't.
If a little bit of lead gets in, it's not that big a deal. We'll fix it later. That's because ultimately
they kept saying that was what was required under the law. It's required under the law that you have these 2 rounds of tests. And as late as September, when Congressman Kildee, Senator Ananick, and I were all in the room with the Department of Environmental Quality and
in September,
EPA staff in Lansing
of 15,
after Dr. Edwards' result had come out,
right,
and he was very forceful about raising these questions. The DEQ was sitting in that room saying, this is what's required when a water source is switched.
In response to his insistence.
And it was then a couple weeks later that Director Wyant admitted that it was not applied right from the beginning. So that's why these investigations are so important. If they're not going to, if emails aren't accessible under FOIA, then the U.S. attorney needs to figure out how to use subpoena power to get that same information.